All right, everybody. So it's Sith Council. We're back from Celebration, and Obi-Wan is in full effect. We already did our episodes 1 and 2 on our spoiler. The way it's going to drop every Wednesday is I put mine out in the morning, and then later on in the day, myself, Steph, and Mike are going to do our spoiler discussions in general, because I can go and give you my thoughts and everything I saw, but I want to go back and forth because you never know what these two are going to think about the episode and what you guys thought about the episode. And before we get into any of it, hey, I'm there again. Subscribe. Will you hit that notification button, like, share, all of it, please? Thank you. Big thing. That's this show also. Sith Council is in the Big Thing Spotify and Apple Podcast feed. Make sure that you subscribe to all of that. Leave us a comment. We got a Sith Council shirt up there. We also have a Show Some Class shirt and all those things and more. But we're talking about Obi-Wan Kenobi, Episode 3, the spoiler discussion on Sith Council. Let's do it.
I can feel your anger. It gives you focus, makes you stronger.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Sith Council. It's myself, Steph Sabraw, and Mike Pillar Kalinowski.
Chicken Man.
That's right, the
Chicken
chicks.
Man, Mike.
As Steph says, Chicken Man.
We had a great time in Star Wars Celebration.
Boy, did we.
It did. It was a lot of fun. We met a lot of great Sith Council fans there. Thank you for everybody who came up, said hello. I hope everybody stayed safe. There was a lot of great things that happened in Star Wars Celebration, and I think there was a lot of, not only did we get certain footage from, like, whether it was Ahsoka or Mandalorian or any of those things, we got to see Obi-Wan Episode 1 and 2. And I think that what we're going to do here is we're really going to break down the spoiler discussion of Episode 3 first. Steph's got to leave a little early today, so we will cover everything that we can do in Episode 3 until she's got to go, and then Mike and I will cover anything else that we feel is necessary. But Steph, I got to start with you. I gave my thoughts on the episode this morning. I have not talked to you guys at all about what you thought about it. Thoughts about the episode?
I know it's so fresh, but it's some of my favorite Star Wars ever. I can't believe it. It was just, I rewatched it a second time this morning. And after it finished, I was just like, damn, that was crazy. I know. Well,
Kalinowski and I talked about this G.I. Joe thing that that they did the pork chop sandwiches. That's how I was watching this episode. Mike, you usually hate everything, so what did you think?
Get the hell out of here! You're so full of crap. Get the hell out of here.
What did you think?
That was great, but I've loved the first 2 episodes. Like, you were like, 1's great, 2's like, eh. Like,
I still feel that way.
I'm on board. Like, there are some questions that I had, some things that I'm like, huh. Like, logistic wise and stuff, but overall, what do you want?
Look, I'll tell you. I'm going to tell you the 2 things that I didn't like about the episode. If the first
Let's talk about that then.
Well, the first episode was 95%. Second episode to me 75%. This one's like a 97.
What did I say? Did I say solid 80 for the first 2?
I think you said 85 on both.
85 for both. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is a 90.
Yeah, I agree. I think so. For this, the only 3% for me that I had an issue with. The first thing, you guys know how much I hate aliens who talk in regular voices, and Zach Braff doing the Freck character. Hey, where are you guys going? Hop on in the truck.
Is that him?
Yeah, I think pretty sure.
No, let me. So I got to think about that guy too.
Let me give you that. So that because it reminded me, Mike and Steph, of Lady Proxima. Hey, Solo, and it's like how much more effective, because the character themselves, the Empire sympathizer and the guy who gets him on the truck and then ultimately delivers to him, loved that. But I just think more of a that type of stuff.
How you doing? Come on
in. Yeah, but it works for me only because he is seemingly nice, but he's a narc, and
I mean the character worked for me too. It was just the voice that threw me off.
So I love the fact that, you know, there's the contingency that, like, politics don't belong in Star Wars, blah blah blah, and the writers lean into this. That was a full-on MAGA guy in Star Wars. Like, I I think everybody should be in line, and I think it's good to have people looking over us. And we should have rules. And then narks him out as like,
I think that's more about just a political system. And anyway, it could be.
I mean, it was just like
ruling with fear.
Yeah. I thought it was like the fact that they lean into that, but of course through the Star Wars lens. I thought it was great. Like this voice didn't bother me as much as like the Proxima one. The Proxima really did.
Agreed.
This one, I'm kind of like, what bothered me more was this thing in his mouth, the things that flipped up. I was disgusted by that.
Yeah. Like a mole with hands on his face. But I think that, he was definitely not
the other 2%.
The predictability that our girl from Rome and Game of Thrones was a good guy. You knew the second
I love that actress though.
She's great.
Indira Virma.
She's great. She's great. The second she walked off the thing, I'm like, okay, well, that's their contact. I never once thought that she was an Imperial. I thought she was.
See, I did.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. See, I don't know her from Game of Thrones. I knew her from something else.
No, but that's not why. I just think that they set up the fact when they're out there, and I did like the frustration that Obi-Wan's the one who's all frustrated, and Obi-Wan's the one who's just like, people suck. He's not going to be here. Let's get out of here. Yeah. And it's his frustration ultimately gets them into that scuffle, And so when she shows up and gets off of the thing, I'm like, oh, well, that's the contact clearly that they're gonna meet. That was it.
I didn't see that. You're nitpicking.
I didn't see that coming. The whole episode, I didn't see. I was like, I guess if I really thought about it, but I'm loving just entering these episodes without that. I just like let it flow.
Love that. I love that.
Two things that bothered me.
Okay.
One, when he finally meets Vader and they're in like these like dune hills or whatever. He's just like, I'm gonna run behind this hill and he can't find me. Like, why wouldn't you just walk on top of the hill? Like, the setting was weird.
Because he's scared.
His empire. Yeah, let's save that. Let's save the fight.
Well, then do I have something else I can say that bothered me with the whole overall?
Yes.
Okay, this is overall. This is our 4th Disney Plus series, right? Yeah. Mando, Book of Boba.
3rd.
Bad Batch.
Oh yeah, sure.
Now 3 out of 4 are an adult character on a journey with the young character. It's kind of like, all right, this is what we're doing again. Like Boba and Grogu and Mando, Bad Batch and Omega. Now Obi-Wan and Leia. I'm kind of like, all right, that's
a fair criticism.
Yeah, and so it didn't dawn on me till the end of the episode. I'm like, because I really didn't think Leia was going to be. I thought they'd get her off world, and then it's going to be Obi-Wan, and
she's going to be in it for the rest of the series.
Yeah, so I'm like, that's 3 out of your 4. And I don't know if that's a Disney thing where they're like, hey, these stories need to involve kids.
I mean, well, Marvel.
It's a weird thing.
The
Marvel shows don't do it. So I'm just
Marvel, but no, it's a great.
It's a weird thing that's standing out to me.
Yeah, no, they do it. They have done it every single Star Wars show so far.
And Fennec looked after a child with Boba and just kind of
I guess
him as her child.
All right, well, let's go through the episode in general. It starts off what I thought was done really well when you have Obi-Wan who's still trying to connect to Qui-Gon. So we know that eventually Liam Neeson is going to show up, but he's trying to connect to him. But there's that great light and dark side moment where he's trying to connect to Qui-Gon on the ship, and then at the same side we start to see a little bit of what we saw in the trailer, where it seemed, even though we saw Anakin transform into Vader in episode 3, this seems so much more disturbing and more mechanical and methodic. And it was you just see, like, even when the thing goes on his face and how painful it must be and all of that, it was just such a great moment. And then that shot when the helmet goes on to Hayden's face, Steph, like that moment of the transformation of Vader, I think is one of the best ones we've seen so far.
Yeah, I was like, whoa, I couldn't believe it. It was just so well done. And then I just thought from the beginning, they just set the tone that Vader's just been living in pure pain and Obi-Wan's been living out of pure fear. And then that's kind of how the entire episode went. And it was, that was just such a powerful storytelling mechanism. But when when you see like every part of his body come on, just like you start to understand, you empathize with him a little even more, I guess, which makes him a better villain than I already thought he was.
Yeah, I mean, look, so they have that, and even when he says he's talking to Qui-Gon, he's just like, he's coming. And he's coming. It reminded me of, like, I said it in the spoiler review this morning, it reminded me of like prime Mike Tyson, like just the fear. He was like Mike Tyson meets Michael Myers in this episode. He was so terrifying. And then I loved what they did with Mustafar, and they go and you get that castle of Mustafar, and we saw Vader's castle in Rogue One, and I think maybe you saw it in Rebels. I can't remember, but this is where I think this was Reva's best performance so far in the show, and I thought she was like, and you start to get a little bit more of what she's they telegraph even more so, if any, in this episode. The turn is about to begin, but either way, this particular episode with her, you start to get a little bit more of what she's all about, and what that we think that she wants to be the number one. At least what Vader says, right? Vader's like, okay, you're going to be. I know what you're trying to do here, and you want to be, but I don't care about. She says, she's like, oh, Obi-Wan's going to pay for. He's going to pay for killing the Grand Inquisitor. He's like, I don't care about Grand Inquisitor. It's about Obi-Wan. And she's like, all right, cool. What are we going to do? What do you think about that scene, Mike?
Me?
Yeah.
I loved it. I think we were talking about Reva in the first 2 episodes where like everything was at an 11.
Yeah. And
maybe that was because the script, because we were catching them mid hunt, where this was more subtlety to her. And I never had a problem with her from the beginning, but this is a Reva I like better than the first 2 episodes we got. And again, it could be that the actress had time to get into the role, if they shot in sequential order, but this is interesting. And I'm probably going to get a lot of crap for this one. James Earl Jones has always been the voice of Vader, always has been. Said, 2-3 lines in Revenge of the Sith when it was Anakin. Did it feel weird to you knowing that Hayden's back? That's him in the suit. That's him in the makeup there. The minute he puts it on, it becomes James Earl Jones, like an older, like, I don't know. I kind
First of all, he can sound older. First of all, James Earl Jones, they changed his voice, and it
still sounded like it's Vader.
That's Vader.
It's a complete different.
Yes, that's episode 4 Vader. That's like episode 4, episode 5 Vader. Yeah,
right. But do you feel or think? I don't know. I don't know if I would have loved to have seen a little bit of Hayden, because they do so much with audio now. If they would have mixed Hayden and James Earl Jones together.
Too jarring.
This was jarring to me when they put the suit on and he's instantly James Earl Jones. I know he's Vader. I know that.
Yeah, that's the modulation of his voice and his dude. Remember his.
Okay, I mean, hey, it's an opinion that everyone will hate me for, but
remember, everything was burnt, so he doesn't sound the same anymore.
Okay.
And
he's not doing well.
He's a mess.
His skin looked better than it did when we last saw him.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't his vocal cords look better?
Good stuff.
Well, that's internal. I went down a whole Reva theory hunt because I was just so curious about this character and the Inquisitor with Rebels, because all Rebels fans are like, what are they going to do with it? And the things that I feel like could possibly be is that they had to get rid of the Inquisitor somehow so that they could have this moment of plot without him, but he'll come back. Apparently his species has multiple stomachs.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then that she was they think she's a play on Revan, that she was gonna be a Jedi, but then cut herself off to the Force and then has this goal of becoming a Sith Lord. I don't know, but I definitely really loved her in this episode. I just thought that they gave her more motivation that I could cling on to.
Yeah, and I love the back and forth that she's got with the other
the seventh brother. Yeah.
The 7 brothers. The back and forth that the 2 of them have. And they're both, and they're not Sith, and they're just Inquisitors, but they're battling. Both want to be on Vader's good side, and they're both trying so hard to say, where she's like, yeah, we're gonna go to this mining planet. He's like, no, we're not. He's like, yeah, well, Vader said we are. And I said this morning, I was like, so how do you talk to him directly? He's like, yeah, I got his cell phone number. What do you have, his Hotmail account?
Yeah.
And
we've been texting.
So they have that whole thing, and then there's that moment on the ship, and I thought it was a really sweet moment with Obi-Wan and Leia, where he's telling her, about the light side, the dark side, but he he fixed the droid, and it's just kind of it's subtle, and it's a nice moment. I thought, and this was a good thing. I thought that she was more accepting now, and I don't want to say toned down, but I think that she's wearing that she was trying to trust him in the first episode, or second episode, and at this one, she's trusting him now, and they have that. That's why I didn't feel too much of that Grogu thing, because she wasn't. It didn't overpower the episode for me.
Yeah. I thought that I love that point. I like the way different Jedis explain the Force, throughout all of the versions we've seen, and I thought this one was perfect for how Obi-Wan is right now, because he's not going to be, and he got worked because he's just scared right now. He's not actually even moving out of like normal Obi-Wan.
Yeah, exactly. How about this creepy moment though too, when they're on the that planet and they're walking around, he's telling about the Empire and how the Empire did all these things and just overtook that planet and just kind of destroyed everything, and then he sees Hayden Christensen, you know, in full Vader form, but as a good guy, or looks like it, you know. That shot was great. And like the way that I read into that was that's kind of, he's seeing the light side still in he's sensing it, because at some point in this series, he's got to get the best of Vader, because Vader beat the ass out of him in this one.
Yeah. You think that there's still a light side though, like at this moment in Vader?
After seeing what he did and this complete Michael Myers thing, like how Ewan McGregor, or excuse me, how Obi-Wan's going to say, yeah, he might still be all right. I don't know, but they have to get there, because at what point did he say, you know, Obi-Wan once thought as you did? When?
Yeah. But in the last time we saw him, he's like, well, then you are lost. Like, you know, he knows he's gone at this point. But I mean, hey, 10 years, maybe, you know, think about it in a relationship after 10 years, and you think back to people that you loved and cared about, and you want to believe that they're still good in people. So I think that, to me, watching Ewan McGregor not even talk says volumes in this, especially in this episode. There's so much going on in that guy's face.
Yeah.
Like the age that's brought him in it, you see in his face, just how he's moving, just the simple things, how he's moving.
Yeah.
It's so damn good.
Yeah. He's like a worn down fighter. He's not like,
he knows, he's like, this isn't a bad way. We can't keep fighting. And when he's watching, I mean, all of it. Great. God,
yeah. So I mean, even though, like we said, the lead up to it, they get to that planet, they're having the conversation. I love the idea. At first I was like, wow, would Obi-Wan be this upset and beaten down? I'm like, yeah, he is. He's beaten down, and he's still, that's ultimately why I think they made the decision to have Leia, that she's the one that kind of gives him the hope, because he doesn't believe that Camille's person is even there. He's like, let's get the hell out of here. We'll figure it out our way. And then, you know, Handface shows up and starts and gives him a ride. And the stormtrooper scene, I thought, and I was almost going to put that on my list of, I don't know if I like it or not, but then I started thinking about it more, because when the guy said, wait a minute, you called her Leia and her name is this. And I was like, and then I'm like, oh, is that a little easy? And then the way that Ben Kenobi's always been a good liar, a certain point of view. He's always been a good liar. Yeah. And the way he just improvs and goes, you know, it's still fresh. And he starts talking. And he starts talking. And he uses a lot of the real stuff and plays it in there and looks at her and says he looks like her mother. I was like, no, that's a pretty sweet scene.
You know,
yeah.
It's interesting you say that, because I looked at the scene and I don't know if it was the delivery of the stormtrooper where he's like, hey, you just where it threw me off for a second. And I think if they would have played it more in Glorious Bastards with this instead of like three, like that subtly, and then you see him kind of switch, the comedy came. And again, it's Star Wars, it's stormtroopers, the comedy's there. I feel the tension could have ratcheted up a tad because his audience, I didn't notice it until he said it. Like, but you could have played that a few more beats longer, and really like, oh, they're in trouble here. This is, and then so, but again, great.
But you know what that was meant to do, though, which I think that's another reason why I liked it more, is because you're like, oh, okay, well, they made it out, and then they run right back into another scenario 2 seconds later when it turns out that you know, that what's his face, Freck sells him out.
Freck.
Yeah. So when I
get it.
But another thing that we haven't talked about is the fact that you show like the sacrifice that Jedi make, like how Obi-Wan, we've never really learned much about Obi-Wan's backstory. We've never really known a lot about him except whatever we learned about him.
Yeah, that's true.
And he's talking about how he remembers being taken as a kid and that he had a brother. He's like, I don't really remember my brother, but I know I had one. You know, I'd love to had seen him and stuff, but he just was taken away and that was it. Like, so Obi-Wan, we know Obi-Wan had a brother. Well, what happened to Kenobi's brother? Like, will we ever see him? Probably not. But I thought it was really interesting. And then as they get there and they get sold out, and that's when, remember we talked about if we were worried at one point, not worried, but we were curious if this was going to be kind of a toned down show.
Yeah.
More. Well, we got the answer to that in this episode and then some, when the stormtrooper falls into the laser and gets cut in half.
Yeah.
That was fantastic. Obi-Wan's good with
slice.
the blaster too, by the way, for someone who doesn't like him.
You know, and it's so interesting because like this planet they were on was kind of boring, but I loved it. Like, you know, it wasn't. We see it's funny. We see like in the first 2 episodes, we see Alderaan, and then we see Dayu, which are these to me almost seemed. I don't want to say cheaper looking, but I don't know if because they're on location, it felt real and you know, and they could have been in the volume. I have no idea.
Yeah,
but there's just something lived. It felt like what Tatooine felt like when they were in the desert in Tunisia. Like they felt like this just felt real, lived in. I love the environment that they were in the whole time, and I think this episode looked more expensive than the first 2 episodes.
I agree. I think it definitely looked. I think I saw some comments where people thought it still looked noticeable that it was in the volume, but I think that it definitely seemed more. The production seemed better on this one, and it's probably they probably put all into it because Vader was coming in. You know,
that could be. They probably saved the money for this one. Yeah, you're 100% right.
And then I love this when the droid comes in. And it's like, okay, well, what's going to happen? He knows at this point. He's like, I can't just sit around. I gotta try to blast this thing before it acknowledges me.
Do you find, because I saw a joke about this, and it's true. I didn't really dawn on him. He's like, he's still dressing like a Jedi.
Yeah,
he's wearing a t-shirt, but he's still a Jedi. Like, why wouldn't they put him in something completely different?
Well, I think
a brown robe.
Because I think that they messed it up in the prequels. To be honest with you, because remember, by the time he gets to Episode 4, that's what he's wearing. I think that they should have had them all dressed up like the High Republic and stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Prequel era, and the prequel era should have been like had like different type of robes to eventually. That's when you start getting into this monk stuff. That's why it eventually transformed into this. I think that's more of a prequel era than it is anything else. But it doesn't change the fact that it's what was set up in the
right. No,
I'm not dressed like this.
I'm not saying it's just
no. You're right. Absolutely, 100%.
How do they not know who he is? He's sticking out like a sore thumb.
Right. Well, the galaxy's big. So anyway, so he's blasting people left and right, and I love when he takes hand face out, like he just cracks him in the back of the head, in a stupid smelly thing. It's like this stupid idiot. Yeah, and he gets hit in the back of the head, but that's when it's. So you guys didn't think? So you thought that she was an Imperial when she showed up?
Well, she's got such a great look to her. Like a striking, powerful, and it fits in with since they started introducing women to Imperial officers.
Yeah.
They's like, oh, she fits. Like there was that one girl in Mandalorian that's kind of what the hell's his name? Giancarlo's character's name. Gideon. Like his second in command. They just have this very stark look about them. I was like, perfect. And it's like, oh, nice turn. Okay, so I did not see it coming.
Okay, fair.
That could be because I'm an idiot.
No, not necessarily. Steph and same because she has played in Game of Thrones. She's usually kind of a tougher and well, Rome she was a good guy. But did you think she was Imperial when she came up?
Yeah.
Okay.
Fair enough. Thank you, Steph. Thank you.
No, I mean, look, maybe a lot of people did. So
if I thought about it before, like I kind of like dropped that part of the plot out of my head that he was supposed to meet someone.
Okay. Yeah, that's the only reason. The second they were like, well, the contact never showed up, and I'm like, why would he? Because I said, why would Camille set them up?
Yeah.
Like, why would he set? Well, I mean, if they were going to set him up, they would have revealed that in 2. I was like, clearly, they are going to find their contact, and then she steps off, and I'm like, oh, okay, she's the contact. So maybe, who knows? Maybe I just guessed it on that particular one, and I was and maybe like you said, I do agree with you, Mike. I think it's a nitpick on that particular one. So, but then there is that setup of, well, actually, before we even get to the adventure they go on with her, then we get back to the idea, because the probe droid does indeed, it says, well, there he is. They got the signal out in time, and the Inquisitors are looking around, and I loved this scene, this back and forth chess game that they have with Seventh Brother and Reva, where she's like, okay, well, yeah, he's there. You're right. Like, all right, well, I'll tell Vader. He's like, nope, I told him already. And he's like, you did? Like, yeah. He's like, okay, you think you're going to get favor for this? And they're playing this chess game. And I love that. I love that chess game that the two of them were playing. He's like, this is my position, not yours. and they don't even care about it. No one cares about the Grand Inquisitor that he's been killed, or they at least think that he is. Nobody cares. And he's Steph, you're 100% right. He's going to come back now, whether or not he's the one that takes Reva out at the end.
Yeah, he will. Now I'm thinking about it. You're saying that's like,
Or
oh, he's
Vader.
coming back. He's going to show up with a saber through her heart, and she's going to turn around and it's him. He's like, I'm back.
Probably does it with
Yeah.
Vader. Probably the two of them
And
together.
she dies in Obi-Wan's arms.
Maybe.
Yeah, you watch.
Think so? All right, we'll
Oh
see.
yeah, and he buries her in Tatooine.
Next,
Buries her lightsaber.
next to everybody else is
Yeah.
buried in one.
Reva Skywalker.
I am glad that yeah, hilarious. Who are you? What are you doing out on the desert?
Who are you?
The old lady just pops up everywhere. Who are you? I'm Reva. Reva, what? What do you want to know, you old bag?
Why do you care?
What do you care?
Why do you care?
What are you doing in the
Go
middle of
back
the
to
desert with a
collecting dust.
shopping cart? Get lost.
Jesus.
Who are you? What are you doing there?
You guys.
Unbelievable.
That lady, you know what? She needs to show some class.
I gotta get what that's the soundbite. That's the soundbite I need to get.
Yeah.
Ray ho. Then my mother when the Girl Scouts are selling cookies. I don't want any. I got enough sugar in the house. Right. What's your name? Laura. Laura who? Who's your mother?
Laura who?
Anyway. So yeah, but I did really enjoy that scene with the three of them.
Mm-hmm.
Going back.
Yeah.
This is like it set it up really well. And it also will, as we get to the grand finale. Go ahead, Mike.
What I love too, and that can you throw that graphic back up again?
I just deleted it.
Okay. Well, never mind. Anyway, what I love though, between this now and like, I love the transition to what the Empire is becoming. Like the hallways and the look of just the design is becoming more and more into that New Hope vein. Even as much, it's really cool to see that.
It's a great
To see
point.
that being built.
Yeah, you can see the mixture. You can really see the mixture of the prequels meets the original trilogy. And I think that's probably, if I was to guess, one of the reasons that they gave the Zach Braff character, besides the fact that it was Zach Braff, but gave him, that type, because in the prequels, there was a lot of that happening.
Yeah.
A lot of that happening and less so in the original trilogy, but it's a mixture. I think it's a mixture of both. It really is a blend between the prequels and the original trilogy. But before we get into the big fight and the big finale that we ultimately saw, I wanted to also tell you guys about Storyblocks. If you didn't know about Storyblocks, we've been telling you about them, and man, do we love them. Storyblocks, basically, they exist to help bring all of your stories to life without sacrificing your vision, whether it's time, budget, resources. Every creator should have a Storyblocks membership, and they have an ever-growing library, and it's demand-driven. They are constantly optimizing and adding to their 4K HD footage, After Effects, Premiere Pro templates, music, images, sound effects, and more to give you everything you need to bring your stories to life. You can just choose a plan that works for you guys, and a selection of, they have very flexible subscriptions that scale to give you all the content and tools that you need to focus on creating and not worrying about your budget. Because video is the most effective way to capture an audience's attention. And as a result, modern storytellers are always challenged with creating more video content at a higher quality, involving more voices in the process and distributing on more platforms than ever before. So a lot of times what creators face, whether it's meeting output demands, there's time, there's budget, there's knowledge, there's creative inspiration, passion, burnout, mental health. It's a lot. Storyblocks makes it possible for creators to keep up with the growing demand for all modern video content, so you can bring all your stories to life and stop sacrificing your vision due to time, budget, and resources. We're very excited to be working with Storyblocks. I've already had people who've been signing up to it, and they're ecstatic about it. And I'm glad that they are, man, because if you go to storyblocks.com/big thing right now, you can sign up for their unlimited all access plan. Not only are you helping yourself out and your content out, you're helping the show out. So go and check it out. Go check out Storyblocks. Back to the show. All right. And then we move on. And this is where it just starts to get really interesting, and not even necessarily the obvious stuff with Vader, but I don't know if you picked this up, Mike.
Yeah.
Because you're not as much of a Clone Wars guy as Steph and myself, but did you hear when she's going through, she's taking him through and looking at the wall?
Oh, this character's in the comics before Clone Wars.
Quinlan Vos?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
He was in the comics way, I would say 20 years ago.
Okay.
So I knew exactly who they're talking about. I didn't know he's in the Clone Wars.
He's in the Clone Wars. He's in there's actually, I have a shot of him. I'll
got the big, like the almost dreadlock long hair.
Yeah.
So But this is a great shot from the two of them. This is from the Clone Wars, and they've had many interactions before. And he even mentions him in Revenge of the Sith.
Oh wow!
In Revenge of the Sith, he mentions him, and he says, Master Vos is off doing whatever the hell he's doing, but we know he survived. Now, I said it earlier in the review that I did. I don't think that this means that he's going to show up in this series. I don't think.
No, I think this was just a tease for the diehards.
Just an acknowledgement that he survived, and as an acknowledgement that he's still around, because she's like, yeah, he still comes in, and maybe it's an acknowledgement that we could use him in another show during this time period.
Now, is this what you mean when you say, and I gave you flack for it, building the cinematic universe?
Yes.
Where he's there. We probably will never see him in the show, but 5 years from now, if they want to do another story in this timeline, we've introduced him.
That's exactly my point. And or if they do decide to do a season 2 of this show, which they talked about, then he pops in there. It's like that you're establishing these characters in each one of your time periods, right? So the stuff that for Ahsoka, how Rebels is connected to Ahsoka, and Ahsoka made her appearance in not only The Mandalorian, she also made her appearance in Boba Fett, and the same with Luke. So connecting all of it and putting it all together, and even what they're doing now with Skeleton Crew, and how Skeleton Crew is going to interact with that time period. So I do think that that's a reason why Quinlan Vos was mentioned. I don't think that they're going to use him in this series, nor do I think that they really need to.
I don't think so either.
It was great to hear him. But did you geek out, Steph, when you heard him when he said?
Yeah, I was so excited.
Yeah,
it was like the perfect. It was like when was it Bad Batch that you could hear Hera's voice in it. It was just like the perfect little. It was one of the last shows we heard Hera, and we were like, oh my god, was that Hera? So I was really excited about it. I don't think we'll get him back either, but it does like prove to the greater world that of course there had to be Jedis that were still doing work, like getting younglings passage and making sure they were safe. Exactly.
And then it all goes down. He senses it. And he's like, and the second he senses it, it's on. Like it's okay.
Oh, yeah.
Well, he's coming because they already said Vader's coming in, and we're not going to be able to really do anything. And I love that all we've seen so far of the Inquisitors are they're just terrifying, bullies who come in and they mess with people, and that's what they continue to do throughout the entire series, but not here. In this one, it's like they just line up like school children when Vader comes in, right? And it's like this whole thing, the way when Vader walks in and comes in, like it's terrifying how he look at you. I'm telling you, he had like this Michael Myers. My 4-year-old today was on the couch as I was doing these screenshots, and I had the video playing with no sound. She saw Vader and she tucked her head inside of my shoulder. She's like, she says, that's scary. And he was coming in, and this dude, like, and they know, like, look, like this is why I give. This is where I think that Riva's the character Riva. You can see everything that we've seen of her so far, whether it's Grand Inquisitor, whether it's the Seventh Brother, she is going up against them and saying, I don't care what you're saying. This is the way we're doing things. Now when Vader's in town, she is like, just like, okay, do your thing. I'm going to be right here, because she knows. And it to me, that is more of a testament to the character, saying she's not just this one note character that's going to be just mad at everybody. She knows when Vader's down, I'm going to shut up. I'm going to try to earn my spot with this guy. And that's it. And they all do that. I mean, this is a great, like, look at them. They're all like just lined up, like not saying a word as he's coming. And this scene, when he's cracking necks, he's like,
do you guys, and I'm trying to think if this is like just my memory's not working right. Did he always have so much green, the lights on, or I always thought it was red? Did you delete that picture again?
Yeah, no,
you did, didn't you?
Which one? Let's see. No, he's got. Yeah, he had the
right there. Did he always have on the belt too? It could always be there. I could just be remembering it wrong.
Also, remember this: that we don't know yet if Obi-Wan's going to mess that particular suit up.
Sure, that could be. He's healing, and there's a different level. So maybe it's. Yeah. I'm just trying to remember. I was just trying to pull up pictures from the later Star Wars films. I can't find one with the lights on, but I always remember it to be like I remember the green on the chest.
Yeah.
But the belt, I never remembered there being green.
Not sure, but he rightfully so tells Leia, "Get the hell out of here."
Yeah. And run and don't look back. It's awesome.
Yeah, Yeah, go ahead, Steph.
This scene is like perfect. Like as soon as this happened, I love the entire episode, but as soon as he starts walking into the end of this episode, I was just like, couldn't even believe what was happening. Because there was an interview with Ewan McGregor, and he was saying that it was genuinely scary watching Vader come out for the first time. And like, actors say that. And then I was like, well, that's a cool quote, but I wasn't expecting much. I was genuinely like, he is frightening. It
was like Michael Myers.
Yeah. And he was like snapping the son's neck, killing the dad, dragging women.
People are screaming and yelling as he's walking through. He was terrifying. He was the Vader that we had all heard about. But this scene, another reason why this scene was so good with this scene between Leia and him, not only the obvious of get the hell out of here because I want to keep you safe, but like, I don't want your dad to find you right now. And I don't want that to happen at all because I'm supposed to be protecting Luke. And like, here you are. And I got you in front of this lunatic right now. Get the hell out of here. And she does, and she goes. And I like that too, where she wasn't just like, I'm not going.
Yeah.
She's like, a little bit of trying for a little bit and then do your thing. Okay.
She's like, no, I'm going to go. Okay, I'm going.
Yeah, that's it. It's a smart move. And then, he's just choking people out left and right. And he is on a war path. And then they get, once Vader's out of distance, and he's like, you stay in line. She's like, nah, I'm all right. And she goes and does her thing. But here's that shot that we see. We've seen this in posters many times over. And I actually did like this scene a lot where he's like, all right, you want a piece of this? And he's like, no, I'm gonna run away. I'm out of here. I'm not. He's not stupid. He's like, I can't battle this.
And that's the same shot as when he's about to kill the younglings too, right?
I think so. Yeah, you're right. It is.
It's like the exact same look. And I noticed that there's a lot of
what should we do?
There was a lot of mirroring in this episode of the prequels and of the sequels. So
for sure,
it was
Yeah.
I like that he ran away though, because it made sense. It's like he is not prepared to take on Vader.
I had shades of Empire Strikes Back for this, like the way that they would cut back and forth, and where Vader was just kind of hunting Luke.
Yeah,
and we kept seeing, like here he is. He's on Bespin. He's gonna get away. No, he's not gonna away. He's got to fight him here, and then he's got to fight him here, and then and Vader's just coming into him, and there's that line like, "What have you become?" He's like, "I became what you made me." That's how you like that. And it reminded me like the Joker with Jack Napier and Batman.
I like them apples.
Yeah, when he's just like, "You made me, I made you." That whole thing.
Yeah, and that was the only thing Obi-Wan said to him. The entire time he's like running and moving in silence. That's the one thing he asked. And then that it's like every line Vader said, I was like, wow, you are out for blood.
Vader tried to keep, prodding him too. Like, look, he's using one hand against him at this point. But he says to him, the one thing he said to him that I was like, and I realized this too, there's going to be things that and it's going to happen every episode now of like, well, wait a minute, if this happens, then in episode 4, I think you just got to let that stuff go now, unfortunately, because otherwise it's going to drive you crazy. Because one of the things I started thinking of was like, where in episode 4, when they face, it seemed like the first time they've faced in a bit where last time they faced he was powerful, because he says to him, he goes, your powers are weak, old man. And he says to him now, it looks like the years have made you weak. So he already knows that he's like, so it's like little things like that. It was like, it doesn't matter at this point. You just got it will drive you crazy if you try to.
Or it's interesting, like, why did he need to say that to him?
Yeah.
Just cut that line.
Yeah.
We know Vader knows he's using one hand on him. He knows he's weak. He doesn't need to say it.
It's true.
It does contradict what was coming later. And again, it's 40 years difference. You got to kind of let it go.
It's
I do like how they used, to your earlier point, Christian, like it's like a great blend of the prequels and the sequels. Like I think that their lightsaber duel was way more in line with the older ones, as opposed to the prequels, which worked for me.
Yeah, me too. And then so this was the scene to me. Oop, where'd it go? Did I get rid of it? No, I didn't. Here it is. So this was the scene to me that I think that this particular shot right here is Moses Ingram's best acting so far. Because right there, when you look at her eyes, this is also the biggest telegraph of the turn right here, because whatever it is that she's seeing right there,
yeah,
excuse me, whatever that is, that's something really has triggered her there and has brought up memories of her as a younger Jedi and her the people that have come in and been there, because then she gets mad and takes off. But that's not the angry kind of Inquisitor right there. That is a shade of the person that I think we're ultimately going to see, because you look at her eyes, that is not an evil, that is someone who is hurt, that is someone who's confused, and I think you can read a lot of that inside of the performance that Moses Ingram gave right there.
Yeah.
Fair
yeah,
enough.
I was thinking similarly. Like, it just seemed like, whereas she had more rage in the past, and I didn't know where that rage was going to go, it seemed like now it's moving more towards this like need for seeking questions or answers or clarity.
Yeah, and this shot, like, he's just getting slapped around.
Getting
oh, damn, that's a good shot.
Yeah, he's just getting slapped around. He's getting pushed. Like, he can't do anything against this guy. He's trying as hard as he can, because he's not in fighting shape. And then Vader comes in. He's like, all right, enough of this. And he picks him up. And this scene, he's got him up and just tosses him into the fire, man.
Can I ask you guys this?
Why didn't he burn his face?
No.
Oh.
How did he start that fire? Like, he did something to the ground. I didn't get that.
There was like, I rewatched it because I was like, can he summon fire?
Yeah, because I was like, what is he doing there?
He pulled down this like crate that had some sort of like, hole.
Gotcha.
Or something that, and then he used his
probably
saber
what they're mining
to light
on
it.
that planet.
Yeah,
okay, great, perfect.
Yeah, that's how he kind of started the fire itself.
Now, and was he then protecting Obi-Wan from being burned? But like,
no, he wanted him to feel the same pain he felt on.
But then why didn't he catch on fire?
Part of him did, but he wasn't. His face is. He was dragging.
I mean, Anakin barely touched the lava in 3, and he's a s'more all of a sudden. Like,
lava is like 1,000,000 degrees hotter than fire.
Steph Sabraw. Now hold on a second. If you're laying in fire in a robe, you're catching fire. You are catching fire.
You don't know what material the robe is.
I don't think Mike's 100% wrong here.
So what I'm thinking is, was Vader holding up slightly above it, like teasing him, like
He was pushing him around and just kind of bringing him through it. I was curious.
I think he was controlling it, like, hey, this is just the beginning of the long torture, pal. This is just, you're gonna get a little singed right now.
Didn't this remind you, like,
it's awesome is what it is.
It really is. The original trilogy, this reminded me of, like,
it is awesome.
Like, if you go back and you look at like episode 2, when Reva's jumping off the roof and all this stuff, it reminded me like prequel stuff, like the way that they were just Jedi were like superheroes. And like I feel like in the prequels, Vader would have leapt over the fire and his
cape would have billowed. And
but like in the original trilogy, like he can't get past fire. Like the same way he can't get past that big wall in episode 4 or in episode 5. You know, when there's things there's certain things he just can't get past. And
good point.
And you'll see him kind of staring through it, and it's a great shot. And I did love how she was able to snipe him out. I'm wondering, is she Hayden Verso's mom? Do you think from what the hell is it, from Battlefront? You know,
yeah.
So
you think I can't pronounce her name. I'm going to butcher it. You think she's?
I don't know.
Her mom?
No, I don't necessarily think so, but I was just curious if we think that she could be.
I don't know.
I wonder.
I did not know.
Yeah, and I wonder if
Indira Varma, right?
Yeah. I wonder. Hayden Verso would probably not, but
could be.
It'd be interesting. So yeah, and then good stuff.
I like I feel like they played Vader so perfect, because Vader's a gangster. Like, Vader doesn't run, gangsters don't run. They walk slowly to their prey because they're the predator. And like you don't want to like get into this like sorcery thing. Like, the chokehold is enough for him to be so like, and he's like uses his surroundings. Like, that's classic Vader to me.
It was, and as I mentioned, it's like a horror villain, like a slasher film that just never. You don't see Jason or Michael Myers running; they walk and they go after him, and it's the same thing that what he did. And then the last shot is basically where, well, you have these two where Obi-Wan is being comforted, and then we have the fact that Leia is now captured by Reva, which I think is ultimately our the beginning turn of Leia's gonna be part of this show for the rest of the series, so you should prepare for that. That's part one. Part two is that this is now as we saw that brief face from Reva to where acknowledging that something was there once as a good guy. This is where it's probably going to be Leia now. The time that she spent with Leia and whatever Leia says to her is probably going to start to turn.
And also I'm thinking the more we're now at halfway point, and again, this is changing expectations. I kind of feel we're done with Beru and Owen. And I'm very disappointed in that.
You probably get him in the last.
I think we're done with Luke too. I think we all thought the show was going to be about him protecting Luke and wanting to train Luke, and they turned it on its head on it. And that's our fault for assuming something.
Last episode.
But it also leads me to believe I could see a season 2 where before it was like, we're just doing one. This is a 6 episode. And now they're kind of like, well, if another one comes around, it comes around. So I'm like,
can't have Vader in the next one though.
That's okay.
Yeah.
There's so much more to tell.
I think last episode, you probably see Luke and Beru and Owen more.
But nothing like we thought. Or what I thought, or what I was hoping for.
He's gonna be off Tatooine because it looks like he's gonna be healing now with her. Now, whether or not we stay on this mining planet or not, I don't know. But because they're gonna find out that Leia is now caught with Reva.
Yep.
And then it's gonna be Leia that ultimately turns Reva.
Yeah.
You're right.
And then I think that we're still gonna for sure get flashbacks of Anakin, but I'm not sure.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Well, I don't know about it anymore.
I don't know about that anymore.
We're for sure. There's no way they bring him back and there's not flashbacks. I think there's for sure flashbacks. My question is it flashbacks in the Clone Wars or is it Order 66 where maybe there's a conversation with Reva when he's like, are you guys going to come to the dark side or you can be killed?
You don't get him back and not show him young.
Maybe you're right. Maybe you're right that I think you have a better shot of what you just said of Order 66 and the reveal of why she either, knows that he's Anakin.
Yeah.
Because that's people are wondering how does she know she's Anakin Skywalker? It's like, well, if he's running around, I don't necessarily love the fact that she was the one that told Obi-Wan. But if you think about it, if she is indeed a Padawan from that time and he confronts all of them and, brings them in, she would know that it was him that did all that.
Yeah. And
then it was revealed that, okay, look, I'm bringing you into the Emperor. We're going to train you to be these Inquisitors, whatever it is. And because they even say in this episode that the Force sensitive people have been being snatched up and you're either come in or you don't. This has been something Palpatine. This has been canon for a while. Canon was snatching people up, Force sensitive. If you went with them, he trained you and you became whether it's Inquisitor or anything else that he turned you into. But no more Jedi. They were wiping those out left and right.
Yeah.
All right, Steph's got to leave us, but this was Steph, overall favorite episode.
Yeah, by far. Also, Ned is a really dope droid. When he had the hammer behind his back, ready to go,
smash some skulls.
Yeah,
he was.
Yeah.
I call him I called him a Lou Ferrigno droid.
The Lou Ferrigno droid.
Yeah, he reminded me of Lou Ferrigno. He's so big because I guess I'm watching The Offer right now, and he reminded me of Lou Ferrigno, just kind of quiet and big and hulking, but he could smash you over the head with a hammer at any moment. All right, Steph.
Best episode so far, so I can't wait for the next one.
Cool. All right, get the hell out of here. We'll see you in the next one. All right, ladies and gentlemen. All right, so Mikey and I are back here now too, and I think that overall, looking forward to episode 4. I actually stayed up last night, midnight, and watched it. You too?
Last night, episode 3. Yeah, I did. I'm not a morning person. I didn't want to get up early to do anything.
I normally do it in the morning, but I was like, you know what? I got to watch it. I got to check it out because you knew Vader was going to come in, and now there'd be.
And for me, it's too much gets spoiled.
Yeah,
someone would have thrown up screenshots, and again, I knew kind of what was coming, but nothing really crazy spoiler happened. But I just didn't want to find out on social media that way.
All right, shifting real quick. Overall, Star Wars Celebration thoughts. It was your first one. Did you hear what happened on Sunday? By the way.
Did you tell me?
I don't know if I told you, but so I left for a second to I didn't really go to the floor or anything to do. Yeah. Steph was walking around on the floor.
You lost your badge. That's what happened. I forgot. I
did lose, but I got it back. But either way, so I meet up with Steph to do a wrap-up video for the weekend, and she goes, I was just walking on the floor, and somebody came up to me and screamed, what is she proposing?
What?
It happened with none of us around.
Damn it.
But I actually met the guy that did it after. He's like, yeah, he just screamed it at her. And I was like, nobody else did it. Out of all the people we met, out of all the Sith Council people, nobody.
They might not have watched the episode because it was right before the Thursday.
It's true. But we had we met a lot of great people, a lot of great panels. It was really good. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And I think that the Mandalorian stuff, I still think was the stuff that I liked the most. That extended trailer,
that Saturday panel was the best. That thing,
good.
Yeah.
And shout out to our pal Ash Crossan who moderated the hell out of it. I just talked to her. She's going to be coming on Sith Council pretty soon.
Oh, awesome.
But she was great. And I think that everything they did from how excited the cast was and everything involved in that, but then showing that extended footage, because it was funny when we were going into that panel. So for people who didn't know, on Thursday they had a panel where they showed the Andor trailer, which I think is not getting the love that it really should. That Andor trailer.
Well, I'll tell you this, because I was more excited for that show pre-celebration as opposed to you. You were kind of on the fence about it.
I was just curious.
But the trailer turned you.
Because my concerns that I had about it was that it wasn't going to be as focused on the Empire.
Yeah.
And the idea that it's going to be on both, and that's going to be kind of a political throw. And then seeing some of the people who are writing on this thing, that people are Born Identity and and like the writers that Tony Gilroy brought in, they released like the screenwriters.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, I think this show could probably be maybe the best written show out of all of them.
Yeah.
Out of all of them. So I was very excited after I saw the trailer for that one, and I think Diego Luna, to hear how excited he is, and he's just such a phenomenal actor. So yeah, that show is quickly. I would have been more bummed that Mandalorian was coming out next year instead of the end of this year had I not seen that trailer. You know, now when Andor comes out in August and it's 12 episodes, so it's going to take us into like November. And then you got Bad Batch coming out also at the end of the year. So we've got enough Star Wars stuff the next year, even though you didn't get any Acolyte stuff. We still got Acolyte, Ahsoka, Mandalorian. It's pretty stacked. And then you have this Tales from the Jedi that come out that people were raving about.
Yeah, that kind of was one of those ones that flew under the radar.
It did.
People were raving about it.
Yeah, there were rumors about it, about what it was, and I think there was someone had mistakenly leaked it by accident, an employee or something, and it was like Tales from the Jedi coming out as a panel, and then they showed. I think people didn't really know what it was going to be centered on, but it's baby Ahsoka, and then they also showed it's like a Jedi Dooku.
And they showed there was some like young Wookiee with a Jedi, and people lost their mind. Like
that's from Bad Batch.
Okay,
that was Bad Batch. Bad Batch season 2. They have there's a Wookiee with a lightsaber, and then the same thing with then the Palpatine shows up in Bad Batch as well. So there's tons of reveals, and so that Thursday panel. What I was saying though is when we went there and we saw, they brought out the Obi-Wan stuff. The John Williams stuff is obviously was a massive moment, but they showed the Mandalorian thing. And then after, you and I were like, well, that was great, but what are they going to show on Saturday? Like if they showed the Mandalorian stuff, and then when they showed the Mandalorian trailer, like, yeah, we've seen that. And then it ends with Katie Sackhoff saying to Grogu, you didn't think your dad was the only Mandalorian. We're like, okay, that's the end of it. And then like 3 or 4 more minutes of footage. And we're like, wow. And the footage that they showed this season looks like it's the best by far.
Yeah. Like how expensive it looked. It looked insane.
When you compare it against both Obi-Wan and Boba Fett, it looks more movie quality than these two shows do, because even in this episode, in episode 3, there was still a lot of it that looked very television. Yeah. Good television, high-priced television.
It is television, so it is what it is.
It is what it is. So I thought overall, though, Celebration was a pretty good success. And then I also said to you, and I said it on on the last video, that you and I probably goofily said, and I deleted the comment because when someone when somebody made had we were talking about where Celebrations had been in
God,
and you said London, why would they do it there? And I don't know, hopefully they don't do it again. And it was more so of us just because we're like, well, because we want to go, and like the selfish Americans, and it's like
Americans.
Of course that the UK fans should have a Star Wars.
Well, the fact that that's where they filmed the original trilogy.
Filmed them there. They're massive.
And the prequels they filmed there too.
And the London celebration that they had there, by the way, not include as far as media, as far as the announcements that came out, they weren't great.
And I
couldn't find one person that went that didn't say they had a fantastic experience, and they announced it. It's London next year.
Yeah. And I think in that at the beginning of Celebration, the first one was in London. It was right around the time of the prequel,
maybe so, but London's always been a massive part of Star Wars, and it's like the way you got for our London fans who, like I said, were rightfully
right.
Like, hey,
that's my apologies.
100%. And they were and I wrote to them when they wrote it. They were like, guys, that was kind of lame. It was lame. It was two idiots going, hey, you know what? I don't want to listen. I don't like to go down the block, much less anything else and traveling.
I don't want to go to Orlando for this thing. I got to go where?
I got to go where? Yeah. So that's where that came from. So and that's also why I deleted it off the thing, because you sounded like two morons. But thank you for our fans in general for keeping us in check. And I hope you have a great time in London. And look, maybe we will be there. Who the hell knows? What?
Each other a pint.
I'm gonna a mega pint. So let's
mega pie.
Let's see if there's anything else. Andor. Oh yeah. Okay. Let me tell you some of these writers for Andor, by the way. Right. So Tony Gilroy is writing episodes 1 through 4. That's his brother. And then his brother Dan Gilroy is writing episodes 5 and 6, and Stephen Schiff is writing episode 7.
Okay.
So Tony Gilroy is the showrunner of the series, in addition to the main writer. He was a key figure in getting Rogue One across the finish line. So, dude, his brother Dan wrote Nightcrawler, which is one of the best movies of all time. It's a great. You ever see the movie Nightcrawler?
Yeah, the movie.
Oh, it's so good. Stephen Schiff was supposed to be the showrunner of Andor before Tony Gilroy. Gilroy is now created as the creator as well, which is interesting. Second season of Andor is going to be begin production in November, as Tony Gilroy confirmed at Star Wars Celebration. The first season is going to take place over 1 year in the timeline, 5 BBY, that's before Yavin, and 4 ABY before the second season. Also 12 episodes long. It's going to cover other 4 years leading up to Rogue One, and then the Ahsoka series bringing the Ghost crew into live action. Wouldn't be surprised if either season of Andor was cameo heavy. Ian McDiarmid hinted recently that he might be appearing in one of these Disney Plus series. However, he was shown in Bad Batch, so that might be it. The cast includes Diego Luna returning as Cassian Andor, but I do think that he'll show up. Miguel Fernandez wrote that article, our buddy Miguel, but I do think that he will show up in that series as well. But look, I mean, dude, those writers and that series, I'm becoming more and more excited for Andor as it comes out, and I think that it basically lends itself to what you and Ken love so much about Star Wars. You know, you're not going to see a lot of lightsabers in that one.
Right. I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. I really think that's it.
I'm trying to look right now. I don't see anything else that's popped up that we haven't covered or talked about. So
yeah, I mean, I know Kathleen Kennedy is patiently waiting on Donald Glover's availability for Lando. Yeah. I will say this, and I mentioned this earlier in my review. There was this report or yesterday, a statement that I think that Disney did very well, and they had put out a statement regarding Moses Ingram and how there were some very blatantly racist and hateful things that were sent to her via Instagram. And I think that what happens sometimes is that people then take the excuse of, they think that because they're criticizing her performance that Disney's calling them racist, and that's not at all what's happening, because there are, I mean, myself, Mike, and Steph had all said that we weren't necessarily big fans of the performance that she put in on episode 1 and 2. But there's a way to critique things in general where you're not coming off as hateful, where you're not coming off as, mean spirit.
And on the other hand, there are people that were being mean and racist.
100%. That's what I'm saying.
It's just, I think it's interesting.
They're DMing her, and they're saying things to her personally. That's the type of stuff that is not in what world is that we were talking about. Like when you go to Star Wars Celebration and you walk and you see everybody positive and nobody's saying, because they don't have Twitter accounts, they don't have these things. It's a human being that is working and doing these things, and she doesn't deserve that. It doesn't. You're allowed as a fan to not like the performance if you don't like it. But it doesn't give you the right to be mean and hateful and spiteful and all of those things. And I just think that it was good on both Star Wars and on Ewan McGregor for coming out and supporting.
This thing was great.
Yeah, Moses Ingram. So either way, it's like I think that it's criticism is part of everything. It's part of every fandom. But I think that there's still a way that sometimes you just that's not criticism. That's hatred, and you got to stay away from that stuff. But anyway, this was a fun episode overall. I cannot wait to see episode 4 of Obi-Wan now that we've got Vader in full effect.
Yes, sir.
From Mike Kalinowski and Steph Sabraw, make sure, by the way, that you are getting to the podcast form and the Patreon, obviously, but make sure you get to podcasts and subscribe to us on whether it's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere. And if you don't, what are you doing? For the Sith Council, Mike Kalinowski and Steph Sabraw. We'll see you next time.
I can feel your anger. It gives you focus, makes you stronger.